Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today I want to give you guys the 3 equations to success in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So we're going to talk about each of these equations that I've identified and made up because I have the power and I get to make the rules on this channel. But I'm going to identify them and hopefully give you guys the building blocks to make, grow faster, make your roster better, and get more out of this game. So let's dive right in, guys. We're going to get into our video here, but before we do that, you know the drill. We need to pay homage to the king. Wampa needs Relic 8. To do that, we need to get this channel to 5,000 subscribers. When we hit 5,000, I will hold a special live stream, and I'll make sure to put a poll out to see what time suits the vast majority of my subscribers. So make sure we get as many people on that live stream as possible, because we want to see Wampa hit Relic 8 together, and we'll plan some other fun things for that stream. Remember, guys, Wampa may not always be in your team, but he's always in your heart. Let's get into our equations. So the first one is roster multiplied by knowledge. What I mean by this is that you need to have, you can't just be super knowledgeable at this game and then not have the roster to be able to implement that knowledge. And then at the same time, you can't just have this massive roster and not understand how to use it. You need to combine the two of them together. And I'm going to show you a few examples. So let's go into my characters, and let's start with Inquisitors. So I actually know, I walk some of my guildmates through the Reva mission. I understand how to complete the Reva mission, but I myself don't have the Inquisitors to do it. So my roster is hey, 0. You don't have Inquisitors to complete the Reva mission, so all of my knowledge is just going to waste in that example. On the flip side though, let's go to my Tuskens. In the current conquest, right, you need to win battles with Tuskens. So this is what my Tuskens look like. They're at least in my roster, and I can attempt battles like this. So if we go over to my conquest, right, I need to complete 20 battles with these guys. And I have 11 of them already. So in this example, yes, while my Tuskens aren't the greatest, I have the knowledge, right, to supplement how, the weak number I have for my Tuskens, I have the knowledge to supplement that they're good. So you need to combine the two of those things, right? You got to say, okay, how good are you in the game, right? What's your knowledge? And then how good is your roster to back it up? That if your opponent sets down someone like Sith Eternal, do you have if you don't have a Galactic Legend on offense, do you have the knowledge to say, yes, okay, I know General Grievous, General Grievous, I know Imperial Troopers, I know this and that can beat this team. And then you look in your roster and you see, do you have the tools necessary to beat that? So that's kind of the combination of those two things, right? That having an amazing roster with no knowledge is useless, right? You're not going to get anything out of it. And at the same time, if you don't have the roster and you have all of this knowledge, it's not going to help you. And again, your roster is going to build up over time, and we'll kind of get down into how time plays a factor in this game. But I wanted to start off with roster multiplied by knowledge because I don't think this gets enough credit in the game that, yes, you need a big roster, but you need to know how to use it too. So the next one is resource efficiency. And when I talk about resources here, these are in-game resources. You need to kind of have blinders on you, right? You got to have those horse blinders, and you have to be oblivious to how those resources got into that person's account. That if they have, crazy amounts of crystals or energy, it doesn't matter if they paid for them or they got them, free to play. Those are the resources we're talking about here, right? It's this stuff up here, your energy, your crystals, and then any of your store currencies, right? Those are resources. How to be efficient with them. So a couple of these examples would be, all right, when do you stop doing refreshes on, each of your different kinds of energy? Do you let your energy hit max that you're not gaining anymore, right? Because that's a problem. When it hits that 144 out of 144, you're losing efficiency because you could be generating energy. Your crystals, right? How well are you using them? What are you spending them on? Again, I talk about that all the time in terms of, when you think of drop rates, when you go to, say, your Kyratex, where are they at? Or no, here. Let's go to Tusken Chieftain. So right now it is 80 shards for, it's 80 crystals for 1 shard of Tusken Chieftain, right? That's what this math comes down to, 80 shards per Tusken Chieftain. So if I do a 50 crystal refresh for energy, attempt Tusken Chieftain's node 2 times, and do a refresh on it, right? I've spent 75 crystals. If I get 1 shard a day doing that, I've saved myself 5 crystals. That's efficiency, right? That's being efficient with my resources. So that resource efficiency also kind of comes into play when you're looking at, how long something is going to take you. That if you're going for Galactic Legends Jabba here, two players are going to spend the exact same amount of gear on that Galactic Legend, right? That gear is the same for both of those two players. So instead, you have to ask yourself, well, did one of them spend 800,000 crystals and get Jabba in 1 month? And did the other player maybe spend 8 months getting Jabba, but they only spent 100,000 crystals? Who was more efficient with their resources? Well, you can make the argument one way or the other that, okay, he did it in, yes, he spent all these extra crystals, but he got Jabba in a month. And that for those 7 months he had Jabba, this other person wasn't spending crystals. Like, you can make that's where the argument comes in, and you've got to kind of be subjective. But those are the examples of resource efficiency, that it's just your stuff in game, and you need to have blinders on how it got there, because money's in the next one. And that comes down to time multiplied by money. So in this example up here with resource efficiency, when I was using time, I was saying that, spending resources, slowly over time is you're going to build your roster, right? With time multiplied by money, what I'm referring to is that when you're growing with your account, right, you can think of the, if you think of a graph, which I don't know, I should go find an example of this. Hold on, but maybe I won't because I'm lazy. So, but you picture your graph, right? So you have your vertical axis is going to be your time, and your bottom axis, right? I think X, Y. Somebody tell me, I forget them. But your bottom axis is going to be money. So if you're spending time, right, your roster is going to grow, right? That your roster is going to grow, and then you have growth over here, right? That growth is this way, right? So you have time and you have money, and then this is representative by growth. So if you're spending money, right, you're going to go like this, right? That your growth is down here. You've got time and you've got money, right? As you're growing, right, if you're spending both of them, it's not this straight line, right? It's not this like straight line up. It's going to have a curve to it eventually, that you're going to hit this point where eventually spending more money and spending any more time in the game is not going to help you, because there's just nothing more you can do. That you could have this game open for 24 hours a day, and you're not going to get any more out of it than someone who would have it open for 12 hours a day. And the person who has it open for 12 hours a day is going to get the same amount out of it as a person who maybe spends it for 6 hours a day, just because it doesn't take that much time to actually play this game. So you've got to combine that time and money and say how, depending on how much time you spend, you can, maybe I'm only going to spend an hour a day on this game, and that I'm also going to spend $100 a month. Maybe that allows me to keep up with someone who's spending 3 hours a day on this game. And I want to mention something that I heard one time. I think it was on Cubs Fan Han. He was doing a community interview, and he was talking to somebody who was kind of done spending on Galaxy of Heroes. And this person happened to have spent, he admitted it, that it was well over like $150,000 on Galaxy of Heroes, which is a lot of money. I mean, that is a lot of money. And he said, I don't like when people judge me for that. And I was like, okay, but he brought up a really good point, that he viewed that money. One, he had the disposable income to do it, so good for him. But two, he said, that's money that I spend so I don't have to be on at this time every day to climb an arena, to, in this case, like win every single GAC, to hit every single raid, to do all these different things, that he's willing to spend the money so that he doesn't have to do those things. And I thought that was a good point. I'm not saying that I'm recommending you go and spend stupid amounts of money. Like, don't spend any money that you don't have. Spend money that you feel comfortable with, and if that's zero, then that's zero. I don't care. But he saw it as, I don't want to spend as much time on the game, so I'm going to spend the money to ensure that I don't have to spend that time. And I think that's kind of the way that this equation really breaks out. Like, how much is your time valued to you? That, do you want to spend $100 a month on this game, which to some people sounds like a lot of money, but if you go out to the bars, you're going to spend more than $25 a week, and there's 4 weeks in a month, so, you kind of start doing the math there, and it kind of evens out a little bit. So, again, I'm not saying you have to. That's just an example, guys, because I recognize I have viewers who spend, and I have viewers who don't. Again, I'm not going to care one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me. But that's the 3 equations in this game that I think play a role in making you successful. Again, the first one is your roster multiplied by your knowledge. How big is your roster, and how much knowledge do you have on how to use it? You could have a smaller roster than someone, but because you're more knowledgeable about the game, you're going to be able to outplay them. And this could go to, you could call knowledge or skill. The reason I went with knowledge is because I think that there are some things in this game that don't necessarily take skill, that just take you knowing something. That, when it's go get defense up as a feat, you know that by using, skill isn't, okay, I have old Ben who can give me defense up. Like your knowledge, that's not skill, right? It's the knowledge of, oh yeah, old Ben has defense up. Grandmaster Yoda can spread buffs around, so there's an easy 10 every single time they do that together. I mean, again, that's just, another example to think about there. And there's other ways to cheese that too, but that's one of the ways that I've done it, especially when it's like, oh, win with, get defense up and win with Jedi. I mean, boom, I'm done. So that's roster knowledge. Your resource efficiency, again, is saying how many in-game resources are you spending, and then over what period of time. That, are you spending a lot of in-game resources, but you're not taking as much time, and vice versa. That's resource efficiency. How well are you using the resources in the game to reach your goal? Are you not collecting all your free energy every day? Whatever, right? That's all stuff that piles into resource efficiency. And then finally, time and money. Time, and remember, it's multiplied by money. That, you've got to think of it that if two people spend the same amount of time in this game, and one of them spends money, they're going to have a better account because they're supplementing all of that stuff with money. So that's the video, guys. Like and subscribe, comment down below. I love all of you. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.